We've had enough with drag queen shows in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. We've had enough of drag queens gyrating in front of children in the public square. These groomers and child predators must be stopped because they're sexualizing children for profit in a multi-billion-dollar medical industry that looks to grow and grow. Something must be done to protect the sacred identity of children because God made children. God made all of us, male and female, in his image he made us. And God doesn't make mistakes. I urge every single Republican and members of Congress to co-sponsor my bill, and we must get it passed. This isn't just a Republican issue. This is an issue across the board. All voters agree.
How one person can consistently say so many insanely incorrect things in a less than 1 minute clip is mind-boggling. But in a moment, I'm going to share with you even what the religious community thinks about Marjorie Taylor Greene and much of the Republican Party these days' stance against Drag Queen Story Hour, and it will surprise you. But first, let me break down the insanity and the inanity of this statement from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
We've had enough with drag queen shows in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools.
These shows are voluntary everywhere they are. There are no compulsory drag queen shows for any children. They're always being taken by their parents to the show. Parents are deciding the exact thing that you claim that you care about. Next part of the clip.
We've had enough of drag queens gyrating in front of children in the public square.
They don't gyrate at Drag Queen Story Hour. They read children's books to children and just get them to accept other versions of what a human being can be instead of the strict standards of what a man is supposed to always dress like and a woman's supposed to always dress like, because people evolve and people, even if you are a traditional man or traditional woman, should be able to appreciate and tolerate and respect people who are anywhere in between. Because why? We live in a world where people are anywhere in between, and so we should accept people. That's what the Bible says to do. The Bible that you, majorly tainted Grinch, and all of your cohorts seem to quote all the time. You did, however, cheat on your husband a couple times, and that's in the Bible as something you're specifically not supposed to do. Doesn't say anything about drag queen story hours. Go on with your absurd clip.
These groomers and child predators must be stopped because they're sexualizing children for profit in a multi-billion-dollar medical industry that looks to grow and grow.
Again, they are not sexualizing children. They are clownish performers in absurd, over-the-top makeup, reading to children and just teaching them to be tolerant. And they're being brought there voluntarily by their parents. Again, that's what you say you want parents to be able to decide. Also, it's not a multi-billion-dollar medical industry. There's a very, very tiny amount of underage people that ever seek any sort of gender-affirming care. And it is, again, in those instances, only done with parental approval. And that does not mean to support that you have to support surgery on minors, which I don't support. So we don't need to demonize people just because you like to have wedge issues. Go on.
Something must be done to protect the sacred identity of children because God made children. God made all of us, male and female, in his image he made us. And God doesn't make mistakes.
If God made all of us, that means God also made drag queens. God also made gay people. God also made transgender people. And so, since God makes no mistakes, as you say, perfect, we should accept everybody. Also, if God made man and woman in his own image, is God non-binary? Is God trans? Is God gender fluid and can pop between genders? Because otherwise, what you just said makes no sense out of your own very stupid mouth.
And God doesn't make mistakes.
So what do religious people think? Well, take this example. In BaptistNews.com, Susan Shaw, a Baptist minister, wrote an article called "Drag Queens Reading Books to Children Are Not the Problem." She continued, "Seriously, Christian folks have got to lighten up about Drag Queen Story Hour. We have an epidemic of predatory pastors, but yeah, let's worry about drag queens reading books to children at the local library." What a great point. How is the focus not at all these days on that actual problem, actually actually endangering children, actually harming children, instead of teaching them to be more open-minded. She goes on, certainly sexuality is a component of drag. Many drag performers are gay men, not all. Drag does suggest that queer sexuality is not deviant. That's not grooming. And in fact, hearing that message early on may mean that children in the audience who grow up to be queer are better able to accept themselves and less likely to kill themselves. Although there does seem to be a sense among many on the right that it is better dead than queer. Some on the right even want an America where we execute queers. And she went on to say this. Now, that's not to say that drag isn't a threat. Drag is an incredible threat to gender norms that subordinate women and vilify LGBTQ people. And that's what the right is really afraid of. That drag might cause people to rethink gender and sexuality, that they might further lose their grip on power over straight women and gender and sexual minorities. So there you have it. That's the real concern of people on the right, that they again will lose their grip on old power structures that they try to keep the evolution of humanity down with. But we're not going to tolerate that, right? We're going to allow people to be who they are, do what they want, and as everyone on the right seems to want also, we're going to allow parents to decide what they bring their kids to. It might be for your family a gun show for some very stupid reason. For another family, it might be to a tolerant drag queen story hour to hear a children's book read to them by somebody they should learn to accept. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. Check out my stand-up comedy videos on my Instagram and TikTok at Ben Gleib.